Greetings, people from the wider world, broadcasting live from the Academy at the largest library in the known realms. This is Storytime Q&A, a Realm Jumper talkback show. But hello everyone, it has been a long while. It is me, your host, Juno Crowva, art director on the show, and lover of all things Realm Jumper. With me today to talk about episode 9 are the following fantastic people. First up is B.
Hey.
Next is Nonnie, voice of Tina.
Hi.
And last but certainly not least, introducing May, voice of Amy.
Hey, it's Missymae.
How are you all doing today?
Feeling good.
Good.
Excellent, excellent. Y'all want to get into some questions?
Yes.
Excellent. First off, let's start with a question for B from Lottie the Muse. What was your favorite scene that you wrote for episode 9?
That's a mean question.
It is a mean question.
Thankfully, I know some of the future questions, so I'm going to avoid talking about scenes people have already asked about.
Okay.
I think I'm going to put it up to 2. There are 2 scenes I'm very proud of. I feel like it's going to get talked about more later, but I will quickly shout out the 2 speeches, the Ocean monologue and Tina's monologue are both very dear to me. But besides those, I think my favorite scenes have to be fixing the glove. Fixing the glove is one of my favorite back and forths. And realizing the solution to fixing the glove with Nemo was really fun for me. And on the flip side of that, I think... Oh god, every scene there was just so good. I loved writing for Amy.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
There's so much. It's introducing Naylumin, which was a big deal.
Yeah. We did a lot this episode.
It feels like it's 2 episodes. It
really
does
feel like 2 episodes, honestly, with the amount of stuff. Because it's also the longest script so far.
It is.
And none of it was able to be cut.
No, because it feels like the Gil and Nemo story and like the Chase and Tina story are like 2 separate episodes. You know? Mm-hmm. In my brain, they're like 2 separate things. Even though they collide at the end. Yeah, favorite scene's really hard because there's just little bits I love in everything.
Mm-hmm. But if you had to pick a favorite bit,
the monologues, like those are things that got people, but I didn't want to talk too much about them because
we'll discuss those later because people loved those scenes for very good reason. Is there anything else like that's not one of the main monologues? You mentioned the fixing the glove scene. That's honestly probably one of my favorite scenes as well. Just because it shows how, similar the fish are, but also, like, how they approach the same problem differently. I love that dynamic.
It's so fun. I think one of my favorite things I got to do with episode 9 was, like, there's a lot of setup. There's a lot of setup to things that, like, you don't realize is setup, I guess. Or things that retroactively make sense. Charlie and Bridget, oh my god.
Yeah.
Charlie and Bridget.
That moment, I know people got mad at me for that moment. Good shit. All around, I'm very proud of all of it.
Yeah, it was a fantastic episode. I know a couple of people have said that it's their favorite so far, which, I'm inclined to agree. It's wonderfully done. Everything, fits very well together. And like you said, it does a lot of setup for the future, which is very fun as we get into the back half of the season 1.
Yeah.
Amazing. Let's see. I guess we will swap over to a question for both Nonnie and May. What is your favorite part about being a voice actor for the show? Any lines and or scenes that stuck out to you? Feel free to pop off as much as you like. This is from radio.
So I kind of really want to do voice acting work growing up, kind of like in a professional setting. And what I really like being, I like being a part of this team because, firstly, everybody is super sweet. It's just such a fun place to work around, and especially doing something that I really, really love and want to continue doing as I'm getting older. For Amy, part of her letter in this episode that I really enjoyed was when she was talking to Chase about the color blue. Because, like, I love talking to my friends about, like, our favorite colors and the significance that it has. When I take voice lessons, sometimes my voice teacher will say, hey, so if you could give this song a color, what do you think it would be? And why would it be that color? So that scene was pretty significant to me because I'm like, hey, I could apply this in my personal life. With also the charm and little goofiness from Amy, it made it really, really, really sweet. And that was one of my favorite parts of her letter.
Yeah,
also
I love that scene.
It was really great. Also just with Amy in general, she's such a fun character to voice. As I can really do anything with her, and I really love making her a problem sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll be in calls with friends, and then I'll be like, "Hey, activates Amy," and then it's just a snowball effect, and it's very fun. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here. It's great.
It's great. This is more of a question from me. But it's so wonderful to have you. You've been sitting on the fact that you are Amy's voice actor for almost 2 years at this point. How does it feel to like finally be able to like talk about? I'm so excited to talk about Amy. I love Amy. She's one of my favorites.
I love her too.
And now she exists, and that's amazing.
She exists now. Sorry. A similarity I made between Amy's reveal was when Mariah, the joke about Mariah Carey thawing from the ice and then coming out the day after Thanksgiving or on December 1st. That's how I kind of felt about Amy. But sitting, I as much as I'm sitting in suspense, like as I was waiting for this episode to release, I also like feel like I connected with her a lot more and was able to learn more about her like before recording her lines for the very first time. After the cast skit, because I would talk to a lot of the cast members about her. I would talk to Bubbly about her story, and just be like, "Wow, this is the person that I'm representing on the show." So I got to make sure that when I finally reveal her, I got to give my all. Like she has to be 100% because I don't know, she's a teenage girl. They have to be.
Right.
But
she's 14 years old.
She is 14. She is baby still, to me, at least. One more funny similarity about Amy. We kind of look the same.
It is really
We both
funny.
have wavy, long, brown hair, blue eyes. I wish I had freckles, but I don't.
Everyone on this show was typecast, and it's insane. Just, like, on accident, how it all worked out that way. It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's great. But I love Amy. I love the show, and I am so, so happy that people really loved her reveal. It was really a heartwarming moment and made me glad to be here on the team.
Yeah, we are so happy that we have you and can talk about you now. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good to finally be here. But yeah, for Nonnie, I will repeat the question just because it's been a second. What was your favorite part about being a VA for the show? Any lines and or scenes that stuck out to you?
Honestly, I'm a sucker for any moment that has like vulnerability and wholesome dialogue. And that's like one of my favorite things about being a voice actor on here because we have a lot of them on the show. And, you know, we have our goofy and serious moments, and in general, it's fun to voice out things you can relate to. As for a line, I think it's got to be from episode 6, I believe. Yeah, it was do I have to point out my eyes for you again?
And I love that. Funny. I forgot about that bit.
And I love that line because to me, it's just like a perfect example of her character. Like, yeah, I can joke around, but also, yeah, don't even try BSing me right now because I'll know. Like, don't even.
Yeah.
She knows what's up.
Yeah.
I love that. This leads beautifully into this question. Sorry to keep you on the spotlight. But from Queen Creeps, this is definitely Tina's most emotionally charged episode. How do you navigate it as a VA? And also for B, I know you were super excited to write this scene. So what are your, all Tina thoughts now?
Yeah, I will let Nonnie go first because the writing stuff is sort of its own beast.
Right.
Simply put, I put myself in her shoes. It was helpful that we had like moments beforehand where she talked about her abilities, and we had like an inkling on on where she stood on it. And reading her dialogue for episode 9, it's like one of those moments where you just had to let it all out. So to navigate through that, I reread her lines and I thought about how I would genuinely feel about being in her position. And I imagine how overwhelming it all must be, and the defeat she feels being in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really good.
I love Tina. She has like I'm sure you'll get more into it. But Tina from episode 8 and Tina from episode 9 are two entirely different people. And it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I give you the floor now to talk about Tina.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. Because I think we talked about it in either 3 or 5, where Bubbly and I initially had like a 3 a.m. conversation where I figured out a very key part of Tina's character, and I think this is the episode where it gets to be said. And it is the reason Tina enjoys media, right? Because from the beginning, one of the things that we knew about Realm Jumper, one of the things that was interesting about it was that Chase is the audience surrogate protagonist, but he's also not from an Earth. He's from Naylumin, and we got to see in this episode that Naylumin runs on some very different rules. So his perspective on things is actually kind of different. Tina is the one who would have our cultural sensibilities and our like awareness of media, and the way Bubbly put it is, if you want to make a funny reference, Tina's the one to do it.
Right.
And lo and behold, I asked the question of why, right? And now we ended up here. And I think it's one of those things that sat with me for a long time, is that idea that what must it be like, right? To be someone who knows what everyone's thinking about you at all times. And only in fiction can you be freed from that, right? That's like, it's a weird thing where escapism almost becomes more valuable than it already is, because it is the one time where that like that part of yourself that is always on is the only time where it's off, right?
Yeah. And I think that's how a lot of people express like their interest in media, is that it is that escapism. It's just in a more physical sense for Tina, which I think is very interesting.
Oh yeah. And that monologue for Tina was written in a way, and it was something that was super important to me. It was something I wrote with the awareness of the fact that different people are going to hear that and input something from their life into the space of Tina's powers. Like, whatever it is that person is either living with or going through, or even just a fact of their life, right? And I don't know, there's a lot of things that other people, and I think Tina's powers are just another way by which she gets othered by a lot of places. And so I tried to write something that was about this high fantasy concept, right? But also, when boiled down to brass tacks, it is about the feeling of not belonging somewhere, and that something that you cannot control has forever warped people's perception of you, and there's nothing you can do about it except just keep going, And I mean, that's hard, and I think it's something a lot of people can universally cling on to. but it's a hard thing when you have to reckon with that. And I think what happened with Charlie was Tina's big moment of reckoning with that, because she had the answer right fucking there, you know? Like, going back to episode 6, it was a joke in 6, but it's a joke that pays off horribly, because everyone should know that if they wanted to know if Charlie was actually going to do something to Chase, Tina could see it.
Right.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
but no one asked.
Yeah.
No one gave them the opportunity to speak. And everyone, all the adults, thought they knew what was best for Chase and Tina, and that led them here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of a thing that I really try to bring into that, is that feeling of like, you know, not only can I not control this, but also the moment where it's useful, no one lets me use it. But what the fuck?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't.
Right. It's I love Tina. It's such an interesting. Tina, I think, is one of the most real characters in Realm Jumper. Because, you know, we have a lot of high fantasy, not even high fantasy, but just like fantastical characters, obviously. You're traveling throughout the multiverse. But Tina's the most human. And I think she expresses a lot of stuff in her character arc that, like you said, different people can relate to and put their own, like, not even like traumas, but just like, oh, I see myself in Tina. And I think that's very powerful for her as a character.
Oh yeah. Like,
Yeah.
not to put too fine a point on it, but like, oh bestie, there's a reason why I was like clamoring to write this speech. You know?
Yeah. You were the only one of the writer team who would have been able to do it with the justice that it needed.
I'm very proud of it. And it's just a thing of, man, you could input anything into it, really.
Basically.
It's great.
It's so good. We sort of roundaboutly answered this question, but from the tiniest T-Rex, B, who's your favorite character to write for?
Yeah. No, actually, it's Nemo.
Yeah, fuck Tina, it's Nemo. Nemo's the only character that matters, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Man.
Okay. But I will give a few thoughts on some other favorites, because I will be real. It's really funny that the episode lineup worked this way, because this episode has all of the characters I've written for, with maybe the exception of like Cassie. Because 3 was Chase, Charlie, Tina, Luther Gill, Nemo, and Cassie, and then 5 was that same group with like the adults kind of in shrunken roles, you know. But like the main characters I got to focus on really are, this is their episode, and that was really cool for me. Yeah, obviously Tina hits me where I live. I cry every time. I have so many fucking feelings when I get to do those moments. But I think those moments wouldn't hit as hard if it wasn't for the fact that I fucking love writing Chase Bradbury.
So true.
Like, Tina would not allow herself to be as emotionally vulnerable if Chase wasn't Chase.
Exactly.
And so that's a difficult balance, but it comes from the fact that I also adore writing Chase. I love the fish, but I will forever clamor for writing Chase and Tina, because
go ahead.
They're the leads. I care. They're the characters who convinced me to write the show, to work on the show with Bubbly. You know,
and this is their episode that really solidifies them as a less even couple romantically, but just like strengthens their bond as a duo.
Yeah, right. They work well together, even beyond the romantic. And I think part of that is Lumen and getting to see the side of Chase that he was hiding a little bit, which I think is very fun. I do love writing the fish, though. Nemo is very funny to write. I'm very proud of I'm extremely proud of my little bits with Nemo. I think I
Mhm.
I think I am responsible for some of the best Nemo bits, some of the
Yes.
funniest Nemo bits.
Mhm.
The end of 3 with the grappling hook joke, which I don't know.
It's good.
And then the lead into the title card in this with just Nemo. I'll say it, Nemo being the kid of the parents who are fighting.
Mhm. It's like, what is happening? Can someone please tell me what is going on? I'm so lost.
Gil was literally just, all right, Nemo, I'm taking the kid.
God, there's so many things that like people haven't even asked questions about that I want to talk about. Like I want to talk about Neluman. I want to talk about the fact that Nemo's home, but this is not his home. It's so important to me.
Let's get through the questions if we have time.
Get through the
different
questions, and then if we have
Yeah.
time,
Yes.
no, that's very fair.
Yeah.
In that case, we will switch topics and get back to that. For May and Nonnie again, what made you guys interested in trying out for these characters?
You know, reading her description, I saw that she, along the lines, spoke quietly, and I immediately was like, "Yeah, me too, sis. I do that too." And I, I've played I've played characters like that before, so I found comfort in that when auditioning. And like, also reading that she could see auras was like really interesting because before her, I've only seen a few characters like that in media, and
Mhm.
they're usually like side characters to which you only get like a surface level explanation on on their ability on their ability. So seeing one as the lead piqued my interest because with leads you tend to get into more of their like complex characters.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
yeah.
No, that
And,
makes sense.
Tina's our second
Mhm.
lead besides Chase, so like, yeah, we're gonna get to see so much of her, and
Oh yeah,
I love her. She's already grown so much, even in just like half a season.
she really
Mhm.
has. So for Amy, again, I was reading all the characters' descriptions. I tried out for a few, just to see what would rock my boat. But then I saw her. So first of all, said she's Chase's little sister, and I'm like, hey, first of all, I have two older brothers, so I know how it feels to be a little sister. But also, like when I get really close with someone, I like to see that I'm a sister to them.
Mhm.
So feeling like a little happy, kind of goofy little sister, just like Amy is, intrigues me. Because I'm like, hey, finger guns. I get you, girl. And then reading the lines that I used to audition for her, she can be so sweet and so kind. And then at the same time, she's like, hey, brother, I miss you. I love you. You're probably a space hero now, and that's freaking cool. Please tell me about your cool space adventures. So she's very kind, but she does have that little hee little face with a three mouth or something.
Yeah,
So
she's a
that's what I
grandma.
think of her is that face. If I say little sinister three mouth face, like little emoticon, I think you can picture what I mean. That's her.
She's a
That's
little
Amy Bradbury.
mischievous cat.
Yes, that is her. And again, that energy and just seeing her, it was really cool. So I'm really happy that I landed her. She has been a wonder to work with, and I have had a wonderful time teasing around with her and just kind of making her. I don't want to say like making her my own because obviously she's not, but like kind of seeing how I can work with her when I tried out with her, and then also now that I have voiced her, and we'll continue to.
Yeah, we will see more of Amy Bradbury in the future.
Oh yeah,
True.
I love her, and I'm so glad she exists.
me too.
Same.
Yeah, it's so fun. Yeah, both of you guys, from what I understand, like everyone in the show is typecast. You guys fit the roles perfectly. It's wonderful.
I'm really happy.
It is so fun. I love our cast and crew. It's great.
Me too. Love you guys. Kissies.
Aw.
Aw. Um, I guess for B, how was it writing such a drastic tonal shift? Do you prefer writing the blurbos in the season one slice of life style or this more dramatic tone going forward? This is from Apollo.
Ooh.
See, I have an interesting take on this
Mhm.
because I don't know how much of it, like, from a writer perspective, I don't know how much of a tonal shift it felt like for me.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
Because, like, yeah, I wrote some very silly episodes. I wrote 3, which is just chaos, and 5, which is the D&D episode, which was funny. I had fun, but like, I think it's because I knew from the jump these characters were capable of these emotional beats that, like, it felt less like, oh boy, time to usher in a tone shift, and more like, no, it's just time to show the sides of these characters I've known, but I haven't gotten to write. You know what I mean? Like,
I see.
being around the other writers, being around Bubbly, talking about the show, I knew the characters were going here, were capable of this. You know what I mean? And I think it was kind of that thing of, it was just like, it felt good. It felt really good to show that other side of them that they all had. And when it comes to what I prefer, I think I'm funny, so I like to think I write the slice of life very well.
You do it very well.
But I cannot deny how satisfying the emotional core is. And I think I still managed to throw in some really good bits in episode 9 between all of the tear jerking. So I think I'm sort of in my element when I get to do a bit of both.
Absolutely. And I think they work best in contrast to each other. Not contrast, but because the show is so like, haha, goofy, funny, and then shit goes down, and we have to deal with that, both the jokes are made funnier by the fact it gets dramatic, and once, things do get serious, it is that tone shift of like, oh no, this is what this show is really capable of, and I think it makes both stronger.
Yeah.
By being able to like have both of those sides of the characters.
Yeah.
I kind of want to comment, like, one of my favorite, like, kind of tonal shifts from the episode was Gil going, okay, so what do? Nemo goes, you can monologue. I'll start you off. You've come to make an announcement. This is where you talk.
It's so good.
That was really funny. And then it got to one of like the most emotional moments of that episode. And you kind of go for a moment of like, oh, that was really sweet, to just like, oh man, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But also
go ahead.
Rewarding for Gil and almost for the viewer as well. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely. This leads us very nicely into our last question, which is, for B, what was on your mind creatively when writing the ocean scene? This is from Meg.
That Gilligan Nemo Suntide needs a goddamn break.
Needs a vacation
so
bad.
that is what was going through my mind. That this man is... Here's the thing that gets me about Gil, and by proxy a lot of the characters in RJ. I am eternally wounded about the fact that Gil is a scientist. He's just a scientist. He's a genius. He built the jumper glove. He cannot do social situations. That's just not his area. And now he has to lead all of these people. He's the director of the academy, and that's a lot of pressure. And we learned this episode it was pressure put on by Bridget of all people. And I think it's just always been a thing for me that Gil is hopelessly out of his element. And is just doing everything in his power to hold it all together, right? And as we saw in the mid-season, his best was not enough. And I think he knows that. I think he knows that he can't do this. And I know that's really defeatist to say,
Yeah.
Because, like, you want to be able to say, like, no, I have faith in Gil. I think that... But no, like, the point of the episode, the thing Nemo says is, you know, he needs crew, and Gil needed the moment to admit that he needs the people around him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they failed in episode 8 because they were not listening to each other,
Right.
and no one really was letting anyone speak their mind. Least of all, Chase and Tina. But it's kind of that reckoning moment for Gil that, in his attempt to be the director and be in charge, he let everyone down. You know, at least in his head, he's let everyone down, and that he can't do this alone. And I think that's kind of one of the major themes of the episode, is that you cannot do this alone. You know.
Because there's a lot of, you know, in the rest of the season, but in this episode specifically, of our, you know, duos of characters learning to rely on each other. And also, specifically, Luther deciding not to rely on Nemo and Gil, who are with him, and to go off on his own.
Yes, Luther learns the anti-lesson. Luther is the other option, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was very surprising for people who know Luther. I think the fact that Chase's dad stormed off like that, you know, is a thing that a lot of people raise their eyebrows about, and I grin in their direction.
We'll see what that's about later.
Yeah, but no, a big thing with this episode is just you can't take the journey alone. You can't go alone through these kinds of things, especially when things get hard. And it's about seeing who you bond to, who you connect with, right? And that was kind of my main thing. It's really funny then that the person who Gil connects to is himself, but like, you know, someone who came to me and was like, "Wow, this is a really well done metaphor for self-love," and I was like, "Yeah,
yeah, it sure is.
It sure is." Yeah, and like, is that part of it? Yes, learning to speak your language and like learning how to find that fluency in yourself is important. That's something I focus on a lot with the variants when I get the chance to write them. Again, same hardware, different case, right?
Right.
Was kind of the running vibe for Gil and Nemo. But I still wanted it to be clear that Nemo is his own person despite being Gil.
Absolutely.
And like, and I think it's about Gil simultaneously was learning self-love and how to listen to someone else's language, and I think that's kind of cool.
It is very cool. I loved the ocean scene. We have a few minutes here at the end. There's so much to talk about in this episode.
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular that you, B, who specifically who wrote it, but also if anyone has any other thoughts that they're like, this was very important to me. As far as like, what were your favorite bits about this episode? Because it's a very good episode.
I think I'm gonna let Nonnie and May throw in something that they are really like that they enjoyed or they want to bring up, and then I will save Naylumin to the end because I'm so normal
That's
about
fair.
Naylumin.
We'll talk about Naylumin later.
Yeah, well, I'll let the other two go first, so I can let them talk.
You're fine. You know, I didn't cry at any of the scenes in Realm Jumper until Gil's monologue.
Yeah.
That part, that I know we've talked about it a lot, but genuinely, his monologue hit me square in the heart. And I remember my mom was helping me with my hair for the show while I was watching that. But as soon as I was like back in my room, I'm like, okay.
Oh, no.
No, but it was wonderful because I mean those scenes that really touch your heart. In something Nonnie mentioned earlier was moments of vulnerability. So moments like Gil's monologue, Tina's monologue, when Luther split up from Gil and Nemo in the beginning, or when Chase comes home to find his house empty, but he expected this to happen, and Tina's like, "What do you mean?" Those moments really. They sneak up behind you and you don't think that they're gonna stab you so much, and then they just carve out your heart, but in the best way to where it makes it such an impactful story. So those were a few of the highlights in the episode. Also, Amy. Hi, Amy. I love you. So happy you exist now. Love you, baby girl.
All that, like, same. Like, you said it all. That was me, too.
Telepathy.
Yeah, like, especially when, like, Chase comforted Tina. Like, I don't know why, but, like, any moments with couples or, like, really close friends, like, I just kick my feet and smile like a goofball because I'm like, oh, a moment. It's so cute.
They're so nice to each other.
It's really sweet.
Chase got to be such a golden boy this
love
episode.
Mhm.
I thought you were going to say golden retriever for a moment. I'm sorry.
That too.
That too. I will say briefly just my own opinions about this because I realized I technically am a part of this episode of Storytime. I, as art director, hijacked the ocean scene because I knew that's what I wanted. There was originally going to be a third shot of the two of them from behind looking out at the ocean as like the final shot of the episode, but it didn't super work out that way as far as like script went, so it never made it to the final. But I will sometimes hijack the art prompts and be like, I'm drawing this scene. I have an image in my brain that needs to exist. And this ocean scene was one of them. It's the fish are just so important to me. I loved the monologue. Also the what was it? Just the Charlie Bridget scene.
Oh yeah.
Because we've seen Bridget interact with other characters, but never our main characters, really. The only time that she's ever interacted with Charlie, Chase, or Tina was in episode 2 when they were all like there with Ryder.
Right.
And so this is the first time that we've gotten like someone who is not already familiar with Bridget getting to talk to her and figure out how she works.
I forgot it had been that long since they talked. That's crazy.
Yeah. Our main characters don't talk to Bridget until now. And I love it. I love Bridget. She's one of my favorite characters. I love her. She's so stinky.
She got to let her hair down this episode. She got to
did.
No one's around. She got to be a little more herself, you know?
Which is fun. I am so excited for future things that we can't talk about, but
I know.
I thought you meant literally. I'm like, her hair is still up in the art. No.
I thought so too. I was like, did we? No.
Proverbially.
Metaphorically.
Yeah. Like Bridget, we got casual Bridget. We got
casual.
Yeah,
she's not talking to Gil or Jen being professional. She's talking to Charlie, who's pissed.
Dare I say she was a little catty?
She was a little catty, but good for her, honestly.
Right.
Girl boss.
Mm-hmm. I think it's girl boss. We love to see girl boss. I think it's also just very important to show Charlie's side of things in the aftermath of everything and how even after this big event, he's still isolated, which was the cause of all of this in the first place. Is the fact that he doesn't have anyone to rely on, and the only person he has to rely on now is Bridget, who's not helpful. So it's very interesting to, see his reactions to stuff.
Oh yeah, and I think if you want a way to make something you are working on kill me, right? Well, if you want a trope that will make me sit and lay on the floor and think about something for hours, it is, are you happy? It is someone looking someone dead in the eye and going, this has all happened, it's all shaken out. Did you get what you wanted? Right?
Ouch.
Right.
And that's what Bridget really got to do this episode, is just sort of show Charlie the aftermath of everything and just go, and just like, in the most Bridget way, just be like, you chose this, right? Aren't you happy? You won.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not what Charlie wanted at all, but it's that moment of, like, it doesn't even matter what Charlie wanted past a certain point. The house of cards fell the way it did, and he's just stuck there,
Yeah.
And it's not his fault. like, that's the one thing I will be adamant about. This is not Charlie's fault that everything worked out the way it did. It was a clusterfuck. It is everyone did something wrong in 8, you know? No one was a saint. But Bridget got to have, and I'd like to think that everyone is having their moment in their own way, but Bridget got to have it the most externally, is looking Charlie in the eye, villain horns and all, and just being like, well, you're the chosen. Isn't this your choice?
Yeah.
This is what you wanted. And it's haunting, because it's like, it is emotional manipulation. It is fucked. But it's also one of those things that makes me lie on the floor for a while, is that idea, you know?
Yeah.
Is the person who sought out something with everything he is and everything he was, and now he's here.
Yeah. I know Jen's not in this episode, but the same question could be asked of her as well. Are you happy that this was your doing?
I mean, Jen even more so than Charlie, because again, I don't think Charlie or even just Jen, no one person is to blame. I need to be doubling down on that. But like, God, it sucks to be in Charlie's position right now.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those things that haunts me.
Yeah, no, for sure. I will say we are getting close to the ending time. Talk about Nay Lumen.
Yeah, let's.
Yay!
Chase's home realm. Horrifying.
Yep.
He
looks normal. He's not normal.
God. I think one of the things that I love about Chase, and it's one of those things that you have to like really think about to really realize about him. And it's really this episode where people could have learned this about Chase. The thing that makes Chase Bradbury special is his capacity to love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is one of those things that makes you rewatch the show with a new perspective.
Yeah.
Because, like, Nay Lumen, without telling you everything, but, like, just from what you understood from Amy's letter and what Chase said, Nay Lumen's a dystopia. Like, Nay Lumen is not okay. One of the things I think about, because I got to throw in some subtle things, like, that Bubbly approved. The fact that your key to your house is a key card. It's one of those subtle things, but one of the things that a digital key card can let you do is lock someone out of their own house.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you could change the locks physically, sure, but the implication there, especially when Chase talked about a renewal day, the implication is that if you don't, keep up, they will just change the password on your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the fact that I think the thing that really gets me is during Amy's letter. Amy describes Chase's mom closing his room door as cracking.
Yeah.
Usually when a child goes missing and one of the parents crack, that's described as like the moment they break down and sob, right? The moment where they just like, it all hits them, To Chase's parents, that level of like climactic emotion is closing his door.
Just accepting the fact that he's gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or telling Amy that his dinner is just her lunch now. And the phrase "the function of family" might haunt me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad Tina was there in that moment, because Tina's role in that scene is to go, "Excuse me, what? Why?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
This is not normal."
And I think Chase needed to hear that was not normal, because that is his normal.
Right.
And I think it explains a lot about Chase Bradbury, that his little protagonist superpower, if you will, is that he wasn't broken by Nay Lumen.
Yeah.
Is that this like very objective, loveless society, right? Bubbly in a call during the post talk for the episode. You should join the Discord server and
you should totally join the Discord server. Link in description.
Live watch the episodes with us, though. You can hear our like day of listening to the episode takes. One of the things Bubbly described there, so I'm comfortable repeating it, is that one of the inspirations for Naylumen's society is the giver.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically the moment where one of the protagonists, I think the protagonist of the giver, is talking to his parents and asks his parents, "If you love me." And the parents' response was something like, "That's such an irrational word.
Yeah.
Ask a better question. We value you, you know?" And I think the fact that someone like Chase came from Naylumen, right? That someone so capable of love, so capable of empathy, who really shined in this episode in his ability to hear someone who is living a totally different experience out and comfort them in a way that like really mattered. But that came out of Naylumen, right?
Yeah.
And it also explains Amy, because Chase is probably the one who gave that capacity to Amy, because he's her big brother, you know? And that's why Amy's so attached. And yeah, I just think that is one of those things where when that clicks, it makes you rewatch the show differently. Because Chase goes from like happy little golden boy to the realization that every moment he is choosing to care. He's choosing to, you know, appreciate Luther as a father figure, to grow this crush on Tina, to care for Charlie the way he does. At every moment he's being a good person is direct defiance of everything he's ever known.
Yeah.
That gets me.
Yeah.
That's why I love Naylumen, is what it does to Chase, the angle it gives Chase. And it's something that, like, it's very clear Chase wanted out of the vibe of Naylumen, you know?
Right.
So it was very much that, like, in a different story, Chase could have been very slow to trust and anxious because of the way Naylumen treated him. But
and I think that explains Charlie's reactions to everything, because he's also from Naylumen, just a different one.
Exactly. Which, again, ties back to the Nemo thing of Nemo's derelith is not the derelith we see. But yeah, it explains a lot about Chase and Charlie when you think about the world they come from and the perspective they were born into. And I don't know. I love stories where empathy and love is a strength, and I think more than anything, Chase's superpower that made him radical to the people of Naylumen if he were to return is that capacity, you know?
Yeah. He is protagonist, and that is his superpower.
His superpower is being kind, and that gets me.
Yeah. I love that, and I think that is a fantastic place to call this episode. Thank you so much to the three of you for joining me this lovely afternoon. You all have been fantastic guests. Absolutely. As far as little promotional things go, we talked about it briefly, but you should join the Realm Jumper public fan server, where now that the show's back, we're going to be a little bit more active there. But this is where you can submit questions for us. This is where you can talk to a lot of the cast and crew, as well as other fans, and also the aforementioned live viewings where we always do a post call after the episode's premiere, where we just get to hang out and vibe and talk about it, and you get to hear our thoughts on it, and it's a good time. Speaking of, the next episode 10, Blast from the Past, releases May 18th. So sooner than you think. We are back to the monthly schedule. And a day after that, May 19th, is the very last day that you can submit your auditions to be a part of the cast and crew for season 2, because we are currently in the middle of the casting call. As While you guys are just hearing the beginning of this back half of season 1, we on the production side are finishing things up. So we are beginning to think about season 2, which is exciting. And if you would like to take a shot at being a part of that, go join the casting call. All of the links of such will be in the description below.
Then you can hang out with us at this.
You can hang out with us.
Yeah!
Super cool recordings.
Yeah. I think that's it. We never end these. Does anyone have a funny ending bit?